all of our listeners. My name is Tofay, and today is another great day to be a social worker. Welcome to Social Work Amplified, a podcast hosted by Speak. Speak stands for social policy, education, advocacy, and knowledge. And our mission is to amplify the voices of social workers by providing resources, increasing students' political engagement, and facilitating networking opportunities. Speak would like to gratefully acknowledge the generous support of the Simmons Sister Fund at Texas Women's Foundation. I would like to introduce our guest for today's podcast, Leon Theodore. Leon Theodore is a gifted and visionary social architect. He is the Dallas County Project Director for Texas Center for Justice and Equity. He obtained a graduate degree in social work at Texas A&M Commerce and also obtained a bachelor's degree in social work. He is passionate about social change and equity. He's a proven leader, activist, and education justice advocate, dedicated to creating positive outcomes for our youth and communities they inhabit. He founded a direct service nonprofit called Destination Known Work Group that provides a social emotional learning curriculum for youth aged 11 through 18. In his free time, he likes to read and cook. Hello, Leon. How are you doing today?
How are you today, Tofay?
I'm doing pretty good. We're so excited to have you here. I like how you, in your biography that I just read, you called yourself a social architect. So what exactly does that mean to you?
For me, what that means is building relationships. Relationships get you a lot farther than anything in this world. It opens doors, it closes doors, it provides opportunities. So what I try to do is construct a working, helpful relationship building situation. I didn't say that right, but I like to connect people is the best way. I like to connect people so that they can provide opportunities for everyone.
Okay, that makes sense because architects do build, so you're building social relationships. That makes sense. So, what led you into obtaining a master's in social work?
To be very practical, it was the way I started to get open the doors that I needed. With my bachelor's, I couldn't get what I needed to get done as far as work for me. With social work, it's master's level. Your master's gets you the pay you need. It allows you to work in like director jobs, different aspects, and it allows some more freedom. So that's what made me decide to do it. What I gained from it was more knowledge about myself and what I wanted to actually go after in social work, advocacy.
Oh, yes, that makes sense. So just the master's really helped you, enabled you to reach your full potential, especially
Yes.
what you saw in yourself.
Yes.
So right now you kind of do several things. You work at the Texas Center for Justice and Equity as one of the Dallas County Program Coordinator, but you also do a few things on the side, such as your nonprofit that you have started. So, in everything that you do, what made you decide you want to concentrate in advocacy social work?
So our organization, I work for the best organization in the world. With TCJE, we do policy. We don't really do direct service, and we do advocacy. For me, with advocacy, it's on the ground. It's all about hearing what's on the ground. It gives me the most access to the people that are most in need. So that's what got me into advocacy, is seeing the people that I love suffer, not having what they need. And it was the easiest way for me to see immediate change.
Okay. So it really allowed you to just do that advocacy work that you desired, basically.
Yes. Interact.
Like hands on the ground.
Yes, to interact with clients most directly, which is what drives me, and that helps with my policy work. Yes.
Yeah. So what is it like being the director? Can you give us a brief synopsis of like a day-to-day life of being like a director for the Texas Center for Justice and Equity?
Yes, it's freedom. I love again, like I said, my job is different, so I'm remote, and I get to create. The best thing about being director, and specifically for TCJE, is that I get to create my own deliverables, my own directives. So that's what a day looks like. Starting off, figuring out what needs to be done for the day. What do you need to put in place? What meetings do I need to attend? Who do I need to talk to that day to accomplish the goal for either the week or the month? It's really not the same as going into an office per se. I just set my schedule for the year. So I do I do quarterly goals. And the day to day is, okay, this week I need to set up we're looking for a location for an event we're doing. So it's setting up the event. It's pulling everyone, making sure that everyone stays on task. And when I say stay on task, we're not talking micromanagement. Just, what have you accomplished? What do I need to jump in and do to help you attain your goals? So it's setting the goals. It's creating the space for people to do their best and to actually make some outcomes happen. That's day to day. It's really just managing people and setting directives.
So, so do you guys have like targeted outcomes or targeted measures that you have to reach in a quarter? Like you said quarterly goals, or is it just, do you kind of choose the outcomes and the things to accomplish?
I choose them. I set my own directives. And I set a time for myself, a time frame for myself, like, a target goal date. I tell you, the biggest thing I've learned is that no matter what you set the time for, the date you set it for, it's probably not going to happen when you want. So you have to learn how to adjust.
Yeah.
That's been my biggest learning point in being a director. Is, you have all these things laid out that you want, and then how do you learn how to adjust? How do you learn how to deal with change or things not working out? And then you have to be flexible enough to change direction when needed as well.
So it seems like your position entails a variety of things, but more than anything, you have to be self-driven. Like your position, you definitely have to be able to motivate yourself to get the things done, because like you said, you kind of set your own directives, you kind of work remotely, so nobody's breathing down your neck, so you kind of have to be self-driven in your position, which I feel like as social workers we are taught to be self-driven. And I kind of see how your self-drivenness or your determination kind of led you to starting Destination Known Work Group. So can you tell us a little bit about the birth of Destination Known Work Group? Like, how long has it been in existence, and what is the purpose of that nonprofit organization?
So it started as a program itself. Working with unhoused youth and families, and just understanding that, seeing that people didn't have a direction, right? Like, we go to school, and it started really with myself, but I brought the program into existence while I was working with unhoused youth. But understanding that we go to school, and I went to school, didn't know what I wanted to do exactly, right? So I'm spending money, I'm spending energy. Reason we're talking now about with Speak, you're trying to help students and people understand that there's direction. You need to have a direction. You need to have a goal. That's where that started. So the program is a goal attainment program. From there, after working for a while, you see that our job really is about system work. So you have to understand the systems that you work in. And when you recognize what's in the system, you see what else is being serviced, what services are being provided and what are not. So I started bringing providers around me that would help me obtain the goal that I was looking for, which was to improve self-perception, emotional intelligence, and youth participants in the program finding their goal and learning how to make a plan. So that self-driven issue talk about, the self-direction, like I said, understanding that things don't change, but how do you make the plan? How do you adjust? That's the emotional intelligence. That's the social aspect of that. That's what birthed the Destination Known Work Group as a whole. And Destination Known Work Group has been in existence for 3 years. The program is 6.
Oh, wow. So it is actually, it's coming on 10 years or that 7th year mark. So it has been in existence for a while that you've
Yes.
been working on that work group. So like before Destination Known came into existence and you were able to, implement this program, how, like, was there any other program like that was similar to it, or was there just like a void in that area and you just saw the need and Destination Known kind of like fulfilled that need that was there?
I did see a need. Again, like I said, what really started was the fact that I didn't see any programs that I knew of that specifically dealt with goal attainment, right? In a practical manner, right? So, if you think back to you being in school, people get told about, you're going to get social work. But then you figure out like there's a million things that you can do in social work and you don't know, and you may have to do this, and you go through things before you understand what you want to do. I did the same thing. And the frustration in that was that I didn't land on what I wanted right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know any programs similar to mine that were very hands-on and very day-to-day, like helping you plan out. I'm not saying that there wasn't, I just didn't see any. And those that were specific to young Black males in school, I didn't see that. So that's what drove me to create that.
Okay. And I really think the name kind of captures the purpose of your organization, Destination Known, knowing the destination that you're headed to. So I really like that.
Yes.
And I know you also worked on another I know you also worked on another project. I don't know if you're like heading this project, but it's called Perception Equals Potential. And I know that this program is kind of like under the Texas Center for Justice and Equity organization. So can you tell us a little bit about Perception Equals Potential? What is that program all about?
Yes, so that is the project that's the project when I got the position. As I said, I love my organization. They told me to come to Dallas, further our mission. How you do that is what's important to you. So our mission with TCJC is to end mass incarceration and affect the communities and improve the communities that are affected by mass incarceration. So when you think about that, that's Black and brown communities, specifically Black communities. So for me, how I see furthering our mission is education. And again, 11 to 18. Perception Equals Potential is an offshoot of Destination Known, the program. I've always believed that how you perceive yourself changes how you interact with the world and how the world interacts with you. What you believe about yourself teaches others how to interact with you. So that's what this program is about. It's about teaching middle school youth specifically the value of themselves through emotional intelligence, through understanding how to improve with goal attainment, mindfulness, things that help you with your emotional regulation, It was birthed out of ending the school to prison pipeline. And I'm not sure if you know much about that. That's a whole nother conversation. But when you talk about ending the school to prison pipeline, it's not a reactionary event. It needs to be preemptive. But how we've approached it has been reactionary. So that means what perception equals potential does is we work with the teachers, we work with the school system, we work with the community, we work with students, because to change the whole, you need to interact with all parts.
That's very true. To change the whole, you need to interact with all parts. I think that just aligns with the systems theory of social work. And, that's actually really true. And I actually have heard about the school to prison pipeline. I actually got my undergrad degree in criminal justice, and that's something that I kind of studied. Just what's that word called? I just skimmed over a little bit, and I just think that's why I wanted to go into social work as well, to do something preventative, because a lot of our responses are reactionary, like you stated.
Yes.
So, how do you balance running a nonprofit, destination known, and actually being a project director? Is that something that you kind of have a hard time doing, or does everything that you do, I know that, does it intertwine with each other? And how do you feel? How do you balance it?
So I don't claim to be the brightest one on the block, but I do believe in working smart, not hard. So I started because I work for a policy organization, and we do more policy and advocacy, and we don't do direct service. I saw what I saw with the need. I saw the need for my program, and I started, like I said, I started building around to actually interact with all parts of the community, right? And when I say the community, I'm talking about the education system. So what I do with TCJC is the outlier, the research, looking for programs that we can implement places. I do the advocacy and the research. With Destination Known, I do the direct service. So I was intentional in that. It was the ability to act out services that would benefit who I was, doing the research for, what the policies were impacting. Again, like I said, I personally am someone that believes that policy should look like on the ground work, right? And a lot of times, I understand that policy has to be broad until it doesn't. And historically, we have put policies in place that have impacted communities that were not broad. They were very specific, that caused issues and problems, and we have continued with that creation of policy, that way of creating policy. So I think policy needs to look like what it should affect the ground directly. Mm-hmm. So that is why I put those two together. So it's not that difficult.
I really like what you said. Policy should look like on the ground work, because I was actually going to mention, while you were just responding to the question, how you kind of started off in a macro field, TCJE, and that birthed a direct practice. It birthed something that's micro. And I really think that's the essence of policy, for it to birth programs and birth direct services that really affect the individual. It shouldn't just be, a lot of words that's over the top of our heads. It should be action. So I really like that. Policy should look like on the groundwork. Wow.
Yes, it should. And it does. It does at times, but, we could do better. I'll say it like that. We could do a lot better. And we have done in the past when it was beneficial for larger or dominant groups, we've created on the ground policies that were very specific and very on the ground. It affected on the ground really well. So we know that it can be done. It's just doing it.
That's really true. We know that it can be done, but it's just doing. We just have to do the work. Well, what a unique story that you have. And I really like the fact that as social workers, the social work field is already very diverse, but we as individuals, we can also create pathways for ourselves and create jobs for ourselves. And I think that's kind of what you did. And I'm really just in awe of that. So I'm going to go ahead and move into the political questions. And we want to just get to know how you maintain like political engagement, or how you as a social worker maintain that advocacy that we are called to do as social workers. So although social workers are obligated to remain politically engaged, what are some personal reasons that you choose to remain politically engaged?
Day-to-day living as a Black male, day-to-day living. And it's that simple. And it's not just specific to Black males or any one group. It is, advocacy is born out of your pains, right? Like what's bothering you? What can't you live with? And for me, just getting up every day, I'm system involved. And if your listeners don't know what that means, I was formerly incarcerated. So there's a lot born out of that. There's a lot born out of my personality. Like what irritates me and the things that I've experienced. So that creates a lot of my passion for advocacy. And I think that's what individuals need to understand or should understand. You don't have to go looking for something or jump on. Just look at yourself and find out what bothers you, and there you have it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's why I asked the question, because sometimes you need to make advocacy personal in order to
Yes.
be effective. So I
Yes.
really like what you said. What bothers you? What irritates you? Like you said, and that's when you're going to actually do the advocacy work that we're called to do.
Yes.
So I just want to hear about some of your successes. So in your personal pursuits, in what ways have you seen your engagement in politics yield results? This can be in your area of practice, or it can be outside of your area of practice. Are there any ways that you've seen like results or successes, any success stories?
Oh yeah. So I was, some of my biggest successes have been seeing students or participants actually figuring out what they want to do, helping someone start a business, helping people. I've had people that are, starting a project and helping them do that. I had a young man, biggest compliment I've had in last year when I worked at Dallas Life. There was a gentleman I saw on the street, and I didn't recognize him, but he recognized me, and he just went on and on. He said, "You don't remember me?" And I was like, "No." He said, "You changed my life." And he's no longer unhoused. He's got a job. He's doing all these things. That's the successes for me. Just to see people figure out their pathway or finding success is not sometimes tangible. It's just understanding that you have value. I've seen so many people figure out that they have value. Again, perception equals potential. So yes, that's some of my successes.
That's good. Success is not always tangible. Sometimes it's that intangible thing that's actually, more brings us a more feeling of success than like those tangible things.
Yes.
So that's really great. Just allowing that young person that you saw that you helped, realize the value in himself. That is definitely a success story.
Yes. Yes.
So are there any policies out there right now, whether it be federal, state, or local, that you desire to see change in? And what would the what would be the benefits of this change to the community?
So I work a lot around Education Code 37, 37, which is our discipline code. That's too long to change to like speak about, but the easiest way, and anybody that works in policy, if we would get rid of the shalls or maybes or may, and just make it you will do this, you will do this, not may do this, not leave it up to whim, right? That would be, if we would take those out and say, let people know let educators, let the admin know what they have to do and not leave it open, that would be a big change. I'm working now, we're talking about codes of conduct for schools, like with district work. I think if the change with district codes of conduct, we would see a huge reduction in referrals, discipline referrals. We'd see a huge reduction in kids being sent to alternative education programming and to the Juvenile Justice Center. So I think we would save some lives. I mean, you never know how injurious a kid seeing themselves as a problem is. So yeah, those are my two biggest things right now: a code of conduct, specifically in Dallas and surrounding areas, and Education Code 37. Those shalls and mays are killing me.
Yeah, I asked you that question because it's really, as social workers, it's really good to have like one or two policies that you actually really want to see change, to really know them and like really like know like what exactly do you want to see change? Because, you know, like you said, policies are really broad, and the way that they affect is they can be actually really broad as well, or they can be really specific. So like we have to really realize, okay, what exactly needs to be changed in this policy for it to deliver like the way that we want it to be delivered. So I'm really glad, you know, you had some policies on the top of your mind, and it really shows that you're really passionate and you're really like you said, those shalls, they needs to be changed, because I think more specific wording can really help, you know, promote equity, which I believe is what you desire, you know, what we all desire.
Yes, that is true. I'm glad you said that about equity, because we don't like to talk about that, especially in this climate and this time. But really, everything that we're talking about when specifically when we're talking about education, when we're talking about criminal justice, we're talking about inequities, and we're talking about our history for this country. And if we don't ever start facing that, like I said, that's where I know that laws can be specific, you know, policies can be very specific. So, you know, yeah, let's be specific with some equity in mind.
Yeah, that's really true. So now we're going to kind of like move on into you giving advice to our listeners, you know, social work students and people like me. So if you could start all over again with social work advocacy, what would you do differently, if anything at all?
I wouldn't do anything different, because hindsight, I mean, you know, we can talk about that too, but I saw how every aspect of what I've done has given me a skill that I utilize now. So what I would tell young students, it's okay to try as many things as you need, but if you know where you want to go, right? If you figure out what's your real passion, you don't let money drive you. You don't let peer pressure, any of those things. I don't know if it's really peer pressure I'm trying to say, but don't let money or community direct your thoughts or your, what you want to do, and actually ask questions. We do not like asking questions, right? Get some mentors. Figure out while it's safe. Get some mentors and find out, is that really what you want to do? Is that really where you want to go? I think that would be my biggest thing for young students, is to reach out to some mentors and just ask. It doesn't matter how many nerves you get on or how many, ask as many questions as you can, volunteer as much as you possibly can, and try things. But you don't necessarily have to, and don't believe that you have to be stuck in one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
That's some really good advice. I mean, I think I like how you started off. You can try as many things as you want. And sometimes that's, necessary, because like growing up or being a new social worker or a social work student, you don't really know exactly, because there's so many, problems in this world. You don't really know exactly what is the one that you're most passionate about. So, it's okay. Try several things. And then, in pursuit of that, ask a lot of questions, because I think asking questions is really what kind of gives you a better understanding of that situation or that social problem and stuff like that. So that's a really good advice, and I really thank you for that, and I appreciate it. So we're going to end up with this question. I know, like, in this conversation, you kind of mentioned how you're passionate about the criminal justice system, the education system, because of your personal, life. So how do you engage people in the cause that you're so passionate about? So this is your passion. How do you get people to get on board with that and help support that and promote, like, advocacy in that area?
You have to, what I try to do, I'm working on something now, educational advocacy services. And what I'm trying to do is use social workers, interns, right? And the reason I'm doing that is to give students and lay persons as well a way to space so that they can figure out how they want to approach the situation, right? The issue. If I make space for them, show them what it's about, show them that their aspect or their perspective on the issue is valid, because a lot of people want to follow, right? Which I understand, because that's easy. But your aspect on the issue is very valid. It's viable. If I can help you see how to make that your approach viable, then I've done my job. That's how I bring people to the table on education. That's how I want students to understand there is no set way to chop down a tree, right? Because you have to go all the way around the tree. You got to do it. Your angle may be better than mine. It just worked for me because it was my personality. It was my experience. But there's some things that you can do, that you can create traction on ending this issue. But I have to make it viable to you. And I think that's that's my biggest way of helping people join on board, letting them know that they're viable, their thoughts and their perspective is viable.
That's good. So I don't know if I'm hearing the correct thing. So you said you engage people by, just giving them, you kind of teach them, you educate them about the problem and how media impacts them or whatever. And then you leave it up to them to choose the way that they're going to engage or participate in the situation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
really good. Yeah, because I was just thinking while you were responding how, some people, they might, there's different forms of advocacy. You can go to a march, you can send a letter to your representative, you can, post on social media about it. You can also like support monetarily, and just knowing that, whatever way that person chooses to support, it's a viable way. It's helping the cause at the end of the day. And that's really good, knowing that people don't have to, like, maybe you like marching, maybe that person doesn't like marching, they could just send money or, something like that. And that really helps people engage in a cause that you're so passionate about.
Yes. A lot of people, we don't understand that's a human thing though. Our way is the only way. Our way is the best way. But that's part of, I think, what we do as social workers. You have to understand you're taking the time to help other people see that they have a voice, that what they see and think about is worthwhile. Their perception of themselves is perfect. What they need to change, they need to change. So yeah, that's my approach.
Yeah. Thank you for that great advice. I'm really just kind of just encouraged, I guess, by the advice that you gave, knowing that, advocacy can exist in different forms. And I'm pretty sure our listeners are also kind of encouraged and they have some good takeaways from today's podcast session. So thank you, Leon, for spending time with me today.
I was honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for another episode of Social Work Amplified. I hope you were able to learn something today that empowers you to become more politically engaged and helps you shape a better tomorrow. Until next time.